Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadyasya yato anvayaditaratascha artheshu abhigyaswarat Tene brahmahridaya adikavaye muhyanti yatsurayah Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo yatratra sargom risha Dhamna swena sada nirasta kuhakam satyam param dhimahi Nigamakalpataror galitam phalam shukamukad amrita drava sanyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukaha. We now enter the 17th chapter of the 11th Skandha of Bhagavatam, continuing with Uddhava Gita. So Uddhava now poses a question on the Varnas and Ashramas. So he asks, O Krishna, you tell me about the right rules of conduct for the 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas that results in the highest purpose, which is true devotion and surrender unto you. So the 4 Varnas are the 4 propensities of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, that is, those who are drawn towards wisdom, those who are drawn towards ruling, those who are drawn towards business, and those who are drawn towards service. And these are determined by the gunas and the karmas, as Krishna says in the Gita, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagacha. So based on the attributes as well as the activities, the 4 propensities are revealed. And the 4 ashramas are brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha and sannyasa. That is the student life, the householder life, that of a retired, the one who retires away from worldly life, that is, and the final stage, which is the sannyasa or the renunciate. So Uddhava is asking about both the 2 categories, that is the 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. He says, tell me about this duty in detail, the supreme and the blissful course of conduct for each of these has been taught by you before, but now it's lost, so please tell again. So Krishna is pleased by this inquiry of Uddhava. So he praises him and he says, now I'll tell you. He says, first in the Satya Yuga, that is the first Yuga, there are 4 Yugas. The highest Yuga, which is 4th, that is the Satya Yuga. The 3rd is Treta Yuga in descending order. 2nd is Dwapara Yuga, and the last is, or which is to say the number 1 is Kali Yuga. So in the Satya Yuga, the highest Yuga, it is said that there was only one Varna, which is called Hamsa, which means perfect. So everybody had the perfect set of tendencies. Therefore, there was only one Varna called Hamsa, and everyone was perfect just by birth. So that's why it's called also Krita Yuga. That means the era of perfection. Whatever is to be done is done just by being born. So he says, Adau Krita Yuge Varno Nranam Hamsa iti smritaha. There was only one Varna called Hamsa in Krita Yuga. Kritakritya praja jatya tasmat Krita Yugam viduhu. Kritakritya means whatever is to be done was done simply by being born in that Yuga, and therefore it was called Krita Yuga. And the whole of Vedas was just Pranava, which is Om, and I was worshipped as Dharma itself, and everyone had single pointedness, engaged in asceticism, and free of sin. They surrendered unto me, the Immaculate Supreme Being. This was Krita Yuga or Satya Yuga. But then Treta Yuga came, and then Krishna says, there I revealed the Vedas as Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, and so on. So the Vedas that was just Pranava Om was now revealed as many Vedas. And Krishna says, I also became Yajna. Yajno vai Vishnuhu, it is said. So he became the form of sacrifice, which is Yajna. And then the 4 grades, that is the 4 Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and the 4 stages, that is student life, householder, forest life or retired life, and sannyasa, renunciate life, came forth. So Krishna then describes the each of them. First, regarding the Brahmanas, he says the true quality. So, as we said, these are determined by qualities. And the qualities that describe a Brahmana, he says, are regulated mind and senses, meditation, purity, both inner and outer purity, contentment, forgiveness, straightforwardness, devotion, compassion, and truthfulness. Only these qualities qualify a Brahmana. He says, Shamodamas tapashaucham, santosha kshantirarjavam, madbhaktischa daya satyam, brahma prakritya istvamaha. So he says the prakriti, the nature of Brahmana is these qualities. Shamodamo means regulation of mind and senses. Shaucham, tapaha is austerity. Shaucham is purity. Santoshaha is contentment. Kshanti is forgiveness. Arjavam is straightforwardness. And Madbhakti is devotion. So all of these, along with compassion and truth, daya and satyam, make for the true Brahmana. And then majesty, strength, valor, forbearance, liberality, all of these make for Kshatriya or the ruling class. And then firm faith, the propensity to do charity, sincerity, and entrepreneurial skills, that is the skill to make wealth, all of this constitute the Vaishyas. And then sincere service to everyone and contentment forms Shudra. And when all of these qualities are lacking, and there is quarrel and greed and anger and lust, then they are said to belong to none of the four Varnas, and they are the kinds of people who cause a lot of chaos in society. On the other hand, the four Varnas, they maintain order. So the question by Uddhava was, how do the four Varnas function to realize devotion? So the qualities described, each of the Varnas are different, but all of them are noble. All the four Varnas are meant to be noble. The Brahmanas are meant to be regulated and content and austere. The Kshatriyas are meant to be valorous and powerful and brave. The Vaishyas are meant to be entrepreneurial and charitable. And the Shudras are meant to be serving and content. As we can see, they're all different qualities, and yet all of them are very noble. Whereas the ignoble qualities of impurity, thieving, quarrel, lust, and greed, and anger, all of these belong to none of the four. They belong to those who are outside the four, the men who are the cause of degradation of society. Therefore, Krishna says that's the way of men who are not belonging to the four and who do not have devotion, whereas the other four, they all are rooted in devotion. And in fact, what's common to them is they are all not violent, they are truthful, they don't engage in theft, they are free from lust, anger, and greed. So there are the common qualities. He says ahimsa, satyam, asteyam, akama, krodha, lobhata, bhuta, priyahitaha, cha dharmoyam, sarva varnikaha. So all the varnas, in addition to the specific qualities of each of the four varnas, all of them share these qualities. They are truthful, they don't engage in taking others' properties, there is no lust and anger and greed, and they are peaceful. So that's the qualities of the four Varnas. Now moving to the four Ashramas, he says first, as far as the student life, Brahmacharya goes, he is the one who goes to live in the house of the Guru to learn. Vasan Gurukule the Anto, he says, the one who goes and lives in Gurukula, the house of the Guru, to learn the Vedas, he is Brahmachari. He learns the Vedas, the meaning of them, he inquires into them, and he lives a very simple life, wearing simple clothes and not engaged in external decorations of any kind of the body or anything, but only focused on studying and serving and being silent, keeping himself very clean, doing japa, studying and chanting the Gayatri mantra, taking a cold bath in the morning, which is very good for making sure that the senses are all very alert, the brain is very alert, the body and mind very pure, doing yajna and honoring the teacher, the acharya or the guru, showing respect to the elders, and treating especially the guru as none other than Bhagavan himself, and never look for any faults in the teacher but only honor him and respect him, serve him, make sure he is having enough articles to feed his family, and then whatever he feeds, the students take it happily, serve him physically and mentally. So in all these ways, the student lives in the Guru's house in Gurukulam. He says, Evam Bruto Gurukule Vased. So this way, the student lives in Gurukula and learns. And then if the student, after finishing the learning, he has two choices. So one option is he can continue to live in the Gurukula if he chooses to focus only on the study and attain the highest realm and not interested in entering the householder life. Then he can completely dedicate himself to studying the Vedas more, and thereby he is full of the splendor of Vedas, and he does not have any diversity in him. He sees only Bhagavan. Krishna says he sees only me, the Supreme, in everyone, in the sacred fire, in the Guru, in his own self, and in all created beings. He says me only. He says, Agnau Gurau Atmanicha Sarva Bhuteshu Mam Param. Krishna says he sees only me in everything, in the sacred fire, in the Guru, in himself, and in others. And he is not interested in any social activities. He is not interested in being with the opposite sex. And he is keeping himself very clean, the body and mind, taking bath at the right time, saying the Sandhya prayers, that is the prayers to be said at dawn and dusk and at high noon, being very straightforward, chanting Gayatri, resorting to holy places and sacred rivers, taking meals in a regulated way, and thereby constantly seeing me alone in all beings with his mind, speech, and body regulated. Krishna says, Madbhava Sarva Bhuteshu Mano Va Kaya Sanyama. So that's the way the student who continues to live in the Guru's house after his studies are done, the one who decides to not enter the householder life, but decides to simply deepen his study of the Vedas and dedicate his life to the Vedas, he lives in this way. And Krishna says, and this one, the one who lives in this way, his karma is burned by his tapas and he attains me easily. So that's with him. Then, on the other hand, the one who chooses to enter the householder life after finishing his student life, he offers a gift, dakshina to the guru, and then he does what's called samavartana samskara. Samavartana marks the completion of his studies, and after that, he enters the householder life. He can also enter directly the life of living in the forest or even roam around as a parivrajaka, that is a renunciate. But if he enters the householder life, then he lives as a householder in a regulated way, and he gets married, and he marries someone who is appropriate to his propensities, and then he engages in performance of sacrifices, makes money in the rightful way, bestows gifts on society and on people who are deserving, and thereby not engage in trivial enjoyment, but spend his life in dedicating himself to inquiring within as well as living in harmony with everyone in the society, and thus with his mind fully satisfied, living in a disinterested spirit, that is, not being attached to anything, not being deeply attached to anything, he attains peace. So Krishna says, such a being I also support or rescue him. So just as a vessel rescues a drowning man from the sea, if there is a Man drowning and a ship goes nearby, the ship will rescue him. Krishna says similarly, I will rescue the one who is in householder life, because the householder life is full of a lot of challenges and perils. That's why Krishna compares it to a drowning man. But if he does it correctly as described here, then Krishna says, I will rescue him. He need not worry. So that is with him. Then Krishna also goes on to say, by the way, before moving to the other two Varnas, he other two ashramas, that is Vanaprastha and Sannyasa, he speaks of the Varna. So he says, he already mentioned all the four Varnas and the qualities, as we know, for Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. He also adds an important rider that in the times of distress, Brahmana can engage in activities of Kshatriya, and similarly a Kshatriya can engage in the activities of Vaishya, and Vaishya can engage in the activity of Shudra, and so on. That is, when there are challenges for a Brahmana to simply engage in knowledge, he can take to warfare. Similarly, a Kshatriya can take to business, and so on. So, having said that, going back to the householder, Krishna says a householder is one who ought to honor the nature, which is the deities, the devatas of nature, the rishis, the Vedas, the former, that is the forefathers, and live with Shraddha, that is dedication, and live with sincerity and honesty. In fact, the three debts that are mentioned here are important for everyone. Krishna says, even in other places in Bhagavatam, it comes that every householder has to satisfy three debts. They are called as Deva Ranam, Rishi Ranam, Pitru Ranam. That is, Deva Rana means for nature. So we get nature from our people before us. So we have to leave nature better than we found it, the environment and the natural resources and so on. Rishis have given the scriptures and the highest teachings, so that has to be studied and honored and passed on. And forefathers have, through an unbroken lineage, through that we have come. So it's the duty of the householder to continue the lineage by having children. So these are the three main activities prescribed for any householder, is to have children who are raised in the proper way, study the scriptures and pass it on, protect the environment and pass it on. So these are the three. By living in this way without being attached to anyone or anything, by seeing everyone as just simply co-travelers in a journey, as we know in every journey, we may meet some co-travelers and then everyone goes their own way after the journey is over. Similarly, even one's own family are just co-travelers, so they are together for some time and they all part. Knowing this, not being too attached to anyone, and therefore being free of the sense of I and mine, he can be free. Krishna says, Na grihair anubadhyeta nirmamo nirahankritah. When there is no sense of I or mine, then even while living in the house, one remains free, and thereby one can worship me through his household duties while staying in the house, and thereby be free. On the other hand, if one gets attached to the sense of I and mine, for the wealth, for the house, for the family, then all kinds of bondage rises through this I and mine. He starts thinking, my parents I need to take care, my wife I need to take care, my children I need to take care. So when they really need care, it's one thing. But normally what is seen is, even when they don't need one assumes that they need him, and thereby gets stuck in bondage. So that's what Krishna describes here, that one unnecessarily gets attached to various relations, thinking that he is indispensable, when in reality nobody is indispensable, and therefore assuming responsibilities when nothing exists, he gets bound. So that is the way of the one who is caught in the sense of I and mine. But the one who is free of this, Krishna says, he is liberated even though living in the house, because he is free of the sense of I and mine. And that's the nature of the householder living a noble life. So therefore, in this chapter, we saw the right way of living for a student, brahmachari, and for a householder, grihastha. The other two, which are vanaprastha and sannyasa, will be revealed in the next chapter. Meanwhile, we also saw the four varnas and what's the right way of living for them also. So the only thing missing is the vanaprastha and sannyasa, which will come in the next chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.